Welcome back, everyone. Now, if you're working in IT, you already know that Active Directory is basically the nervous system of the corporate network. I mean, it's used in over 90% of enterprise environments, making it the absolute foundation for authentication and authorization. But as an organization scales up, this massive challenge inevitably emerges. How on earth do you keep access secure, organized, and critically auditable? Well, today our explainer is completely focused on demystifying Active Directory permissions at scale. We're going to master the absolute gold standard for access management, the AGDLP nesting strategy. Think of it kind of like nesting dolls, layers of organization that just fit perfectly inside one another. If you've ever been a junior sysadmin, you definitely know the struggle. You get a ticket saying a new user needs access to like 20 different shared folders, 3 printers, and some specific legacy application. Trying to do that manually, it's a total nightmare of endless right clicks and forgotten checkboxes. Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly do we manage thousands of users securely without having to manually touch every single device or configure every single folder on the network? Well, the answer lies in a highly structured approach. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with 1, the access control problem. 2, we'll meet the AGDLP strategy itself. 3, we'll look at accounts and global groups. Followed by 4, domain, local, and permissions. And finally, 5, we'll wrap up with exactly why AGDLP wins. Let's get to it. Section 1, the access control problem and the harsh reality of direct permissions. Now, before we can really appreciate the solution, we've got to understand how quickly access control lists, or ACLs, turn into a complete, unmanageable mess without a clear strategy. If there was one golden rule in Active Directory administration, it's this: never assign permissions directly to users. Seriously, never. This rule is the absolute core of the principle of least privilege and role-based access control. See, when you assign permissions directly to a user account, you're creating this permanent, localized link that is incredibly difficult to track, audit, or remove later on. Let's look at a day in the life of a typical network. Enter Jane Doe, an HR analyst. Now, Jane needs access to the HR file share to do her job, right? If a sysadmin just goes over to the server, right-clicks the HR folder, and adds Jane's specific user account directly to the access control list, well, they've solved the problem for today. But think about what happens when Jane transfers over to the finance department next year. That same sysadmin has to somehow remember every single folder Jane was manually added to and meticulously remove her. Multiply that headache by thousands of users, and you've got an absolute security disaster just waiting to trigger an auditor's panic. Moving to Section 2. Meet the AGDLP strategy, which is the Microsoft recommended framework. To fix all this chaos, we use a framework for organizing permissions logically. This ensures your Active Directory environment actually stays scalable and secure. AGDLP is an acronym representing 4 interlocking building blocks. Step 1 is accounts. Step 2, global groups. Step 3, domain local groups. And step 4, permissions. Instead of this tangled administrative web, this strategy creates a super clean, secure pipeline where each step just flows logically right into the next. So let's break these down in detail. Section 3, accounts and global groups, or organizing by role. All right, so this is the first half of the acronym, and this stage is entirely focused on organizing users based purely on what their job role is within the organization. We start with A for accounts. Jane Doe's user account, JDOE@corp.com, is our foundational building block. Whether we're talking about a user account, a service account, or even a computer account, this individual object in Active Directory is where the identity starts. But remember our golden rule? We are absolutely not applying permissions directly to Jane. So the crucial point is how we group her. G stands for global groups. We take Jane's account and we place it into a global group that represents her role. In this specific case, GG, HR, staff. The sole purpose of a global group is to organize users within a single domain based on their business function. Think about it. If 10 other people get hired in HR tomorrow, they all just get dropped right into this exact same global group. We've defined who they are without worrying about what they can actually touch just yet. Section 4, domain, local, and permissions. This is about locking down resources. Now we're crossing over to the other side of the equation. We're shifting our focus away from the users and their roles and moving directly to the actual network resources they need to access. Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is how it highlights a notoriously confusing distinction for a lot of junior admins. Global groups are for organizing users by role, But domain local groups have a completely different job. Their sole purpose is to assign permissions to resources in the same domain. Basically, you use a domain local group when you are standing virtually right in front of a resource, like a file share or a printer, and you are declaring exactly what level of access is allowed. Which brings us to the absolutely most critical step of the entire strategy, the nesting. DL stands for domain local groups. This is exactly where our nesting doll metaphor really comes to life. We take our role-based group, that GGHR staff, and we nest it directly inside a resource-based group, which we've named DL File Share HR Read. Essentially, we are plugging the job role directly into the resource access slot. And finally, P stands for permissions. We assign the domain local group DL File Share HR Read permissions directly on the access control list of the HR file share itself. This acts as the final lock. The permission is set exactly once on the resource. From then on, if you want to grant access, you just add the user to the correct global group. The pipeline is fully complete. The account goes into the global group goes into the domain local group, and the domain local group gets the permission. Section 5. Why AGDLP wins. The gold standard for Active Directory. Let's summarize exactly why this specific nesting flow is the absolute gold standard and, frankly, why this matters so much for your day-to-day sanity. Think back to Jane Doe. When Jane leaves the HR department, you don't have to hunt down dozens of folders and manually update all those access control lists. Changing her access simply means removing her from the GGHR staff global group. That's literally it. You touch one group membership and her access to everything tied to that role is instantly revoked. Furthermore, auditing becomes perfectly clean. Security teams can look at a resource, see exactly one domain local group assigned to it, and trace that right back to a clearly defined role. One group equals one role equals one set of permissions. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive benefits of this strategy, keeping your environment absolutely pristine. It's an incredibly powerful system, but, it does require strict discipline, which leaves us with a final question to really think about. What happens to your domain security when you decide to bypass AGDLP just once to save a little time? Well, the answer is that the administrative web immediately begins to tangle, auditing becomes literally impossible, and your adherence to the principle of least privilege just starts to crumble. You've got to stick to the building blocks: accounts, global groups, domain local groups, permissions. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your directories clean and secure.